the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed, as the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Let us bow our heads for a word of prayer. Almighty God, creator of all, as we gather to celebrate the promotion of Nick Young to the rank of captain, our hearts are filled with happiness for him and his whole family. You have prepared him for this day and blessed him with special gifts and abilities and endowed him with the acuity of mind, body, and spirit more than equal to the task. You have given him leaders and mentors and peers to help him along the way. You have sustained him. And now today, we come celebrating. We come to acknowledge the fact that to whom much is given, much is required. We understand that we are fallible. We will have weaknesses, but strengthen him and strengthen all that are around him and are present today. We ask that you lead Nick and all of us in the way of peace. Unite us in the spirit of service. Nourish and sustain us in our vocation for the sake of your holy name. It is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Senior Lowe and Pastor Hawkins. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Let's give them a round of applause. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this ceremony honoring First Lieutenant Joshua Nick Young on the occasion of his promotion to the rank of captain. Presiding over today's ceremony is the AMC A1 Chief of Executive Development Branch, Lieutenant Colonel Jaron Roux. Please join me in a warm welcome to our special guests in attendance today. Please hold your applause until the end. Lieutenant Young's wife, Mrs. Kayla Young, and their daughter Addison. His mother, Miss Nancy Gibson. His sisters, Danielle and Danae. His uncles, Randy and John. His aunts, Crystal and Tony. His godbrothers, Jamar and Mel, and his nephew, Jalen. His family friends, First Lieutenant Andrea Lewis and her husband, Attorney Quentin Lewis. His neighbors, Ben and Chelsea. His pastor, David Hawkins, and the Living Word Church family. We also welcome our distinguished visitors. Lieutenant Colonel Maureen Trujillo-Andree, Commander 375th Operations Support Squadron. Lieutenant Colonel Catherine Shaw, Commander 375th Aerospace Medicine Squadron. Chief Master Sergeant Robert Duvall, Superintendent 375th Communications Group. Finally, we welcome all members of the 375th Operations Support Squadron, 458 Airlift Squadron, Team Scott, family and friends of Lieutenant Young. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Lieutenant Colonel Roux.
So first of all, I just want to say this is the largest gathering for a captain's promotion I think I've ever seen. So Nick, that is a testament to what these folks think about you. First, I'd like to say, where's the young man that sang that national anthem? Yeah, he went back out to go get his wife? Okay, well, that was fantastic. Normally, when folks sing the national anthem and they get to, putting a little extra on it, I'm like, don't go there, but his was very tasteful, classy, and just a fantastic. So in his absence, can we give him another round? Pastor Hawkins, sir, thank you so much for that word, and to the Live in the Word Church family, thank you guys for taking the time to come out. How many folks is their first time on military base? Okay, so this is a big deal. Okay, and I will try, if I get to using too many acronyms or too many things you don't understand, give me the no. But this is a big deal. Not everyone, despite what some people may tell you, get promoted to the rank of captain. And when we get to talking about Nick and the journey that he's taken to get there, that's a special thing, right? And so you all being believers, you know that didn't come from just Nick being awesome by himself, right? And so there was somebody along the way, and then some special people who prayed for Nick along the way that helped him get there and set that example. Miss Nancy, I just want to say to you, ma'am, thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much for setting an example in your service to our country. Thank you for taking the time to raise Nick the way he should be. He has turned into a fantastic young man. I have had the pleasure of knowing him for quite a number of years. And you can, if nothing else happens, you can rest assured that you did your part in instilling in him the virtues. In the Air Force, we have these three things: integrity, service, and excellence, and he embodies all of those, and that's a testament to you. So thank you so much. Kayla, girl, since the 6th grade? Really? Since the 6th grade, y'all, Kayla has been, Nick and Kayla have been sweethearts since the 6th grade, and that's special, right? And so she has endured a lot. Not because Nick is bad or anything like that, but she has endured a lot just because of life. Nick went off and enlisted in the Air Force, so they worked their things out through that. Then he was fortunate enough to get an appointment to the United States Air Force Academy, and then he went off and did his college experience. By the way, you can't be married, you can't have kids during that time, right? So they were geographically separated during that time, but she was always there in support. And this, I think, just further illustrates how when God has a plan for your life, nothing can stop that. So, I think it's 18 short hours after Nick graduated from the Air Force Academy. As soon as he go get married, he went and grabbed Kayla. And since July of 2014, they have been bonded as man and wife ever since. And then in November of 16, Addie joined the team. And what a fantastic family. What a fantastic young example. But Kayla, to you, I know this is Nick's day and we're promoting him, but I have something I want you to have, right? So anytime Nick gets a little too big for his britches, right, I need him to remember he's the captain, you're the major.
All right now.
And we'll talk about those in a little bit. And so, but I do want to talk about Nick for a little bit. And normally in a promotion ceremony, what we do is we'll go back through and talk about Nick's performance report. So every year in the Air Force, annually, we get what we call an officer performance report. And it talks about the things you did in your job for the last year. And so Nick's career, right, so 2014, he should have 4 of them in there. He has 1. No, he's 2. He has two. He has 1 as a second lieutenant and then 1 that closed out last year. But you were like, okay, 4 minus 2 leaves 2. Where's the other 2, right? And so the other 2 have been from when he was spent a year in pilot training, and then he should have 1 closing out here shortly. But his very first job, let me back up. So he enlisted in the Air Force, which, that is a special thing in and of itself. Our country's been at war since, for almost his whole life. And he decided to go and join and be a part of that at a time when our country needs him the most, right? Only less than 1% of the folks serve in our military, and that's a fantastic sacrifice to go and join and want to be a part of something bigger than himself. And then he proved himself, he performed, and he earned an opportunity to go to the United States Air Force Academy. And by no means do I ever mean to belittle folks for enlisted service, but to go to the Air Force Academy, that's something. Let me talk to you about that for a second, right? So this is where he decides to go to a place for 4 straight years where he wears nothing but this. I mean, it's nice, but not every day. You know what I mean? Like, I would like to put on something else other than that, right? But for the first year while you're there, you subject yourself to be yelled at, to be told what to do, to be bossed around by a bunch of people that you don't know. And oh, by the way, Nick had already served prior, and he got people telling him, well, when you get in the real Air Force, it's gonna be this way. And he like, man, I've been serving already, what you talking about? But, you know, you gotta bend and, you know, you have to just kind of bend and grin and bear it. And so he made it through that. And not only did he make it through his time as at the Air Force Academy well, but he had the opportunity to serve as a cadet group commander his senior year, right? So this is where he was in charge of about 1,000 cadets, you know, under his charge, that he led them during his senior year, which is no small feat. That was an early testament to his leadership ability and I think forecasting of things that he will get to do in the future. And then once he graduated, became a second lieutenant, he had a chance to work in the diversity recruiting office is what they call it. It's a section of our admissions office there at the Air Force Academy, and what he had a chance to do was to go out, talk about his experience, and try to recruit people to come into the Air Force Academy. That is a special job. It's a special job because you are reaching out to folks just like you all, who maybe have never had a chance to come to a military base, know nothing about the military, and you're explaining to them what it means to serve and the tremendous opportunities that are available to you in service to our nation. And Nick had a chance to do that. After that, he went off to pilot training. He tried to scare us a couple times while I was in pilot training, and I get through. But you know, when God has a plan for your life, you will always come through. In trials and tribulations, adversity, it all makes you a stronger, better person, right? And so Nick was able to get through and overcome and earned his right to become a C-21 pilot. And now here at Scott, he's a C-21 pilot, just became an aircraft commander. So for those of you who don't know, when you guys get on, you know, Delta, I saw the Delta patch back there, right? For those of you who get on those commercial airlines and you come in the door and you kind of peek left and you see there's 2 seats up there, there's one on the right, that's the co-pilot. That's like the flunky, you just do what I say, right? And then there is what we call the aircraft commander that sits in that left seat, right? And so that's what Nick has become. He's earned the right to take this aircraft and fly some of our most distinguished people in the military around the globe, literally, and get them to and from they need to go to conduct their business, and that's a big deal. And he's responsible for all that, right? So it's no longer he can look up and be like, hey, what I'm supposed to do? They're like, no, you the boss. What are we supposed to do, right? And so they're looking to him to make decisions, which really has to keep that airplane and that crew safe as they go about doing that mission. And that's a big, big responsibility. And the last thing, 2 things I want to leave Nick with, right? And so Psalms 75 and 6 talks about where promotions come from, right? They come from neither the east nor the west, the north or the south, right? They come from God. So remember that. And as you continue on in your journey, there will be many more promotions to come. But remember, it is never about you. It is always about the service that you give and the plan that God has on your life. When I was a squadron commander, I used to have a saying that excellence as a standard and not an option, right? And so as I would talk about that to my folks, I'd be like, man, that's long and corny. I'm a Raiders fan, so excellence, commitment to excellence is where that came from. People are like, oh, it's Air Force. No, I'm a Raiders fan. Commitment to excellence. And so, but I think Nick has exuded that, and he will continue to do that. And remember that as you go along, to keep that as your standard. And then the last part is to continue to live out your purpose. To you and Caleb both, you don't know where you're going to be going next. It could be to Charleston, it could be to Japan, it could be who knows where. But wherever you guys go, know that there is a purpose for you. There will always be something for you both to do and accomplish while you're there, both professionally and by witness of the folks that have come here to celebrate with you today in the community, and that is really, really important. And Nick, the last part is really special. So when I met Nick at the Air Force Academy, I had the tremendous honor and privilege to get stationed there. And I've always said, like, I never want people to give me a job or hire me or have me sent to do something just because I'm black, right? I always want it to be because of my performance, my this, my that. I don't want anybody to think that I'm different. Well, I got hired to that job partly because I was black. The commandant at the Air Force Academy at the time, a fantastic man by the name of, he's a retired Lieutenant General Sam Cox. Part of the reason why he said he hired me was because I was black, and he was trying to help motivate African American cadets to pursue flying training, pilot training as a goal, right? And so, you know, that old saying, if you see it, you can be it, right? And so as I went about doing my thing, I didn't treat anybody any differently. I was just being me, right? One of the cadets that I had the pleasure and honor of crossing paths with and just sharing my story was Nick, right? And I like to think, and this is a little arrogant, but I like to think that helped him, you know, kind of set on his way to becoming the pilot he is today. Captain Saj El-Amin was another cadet that was there at the time, and we had a chance to talk, and I like to think, again, him, because we had a chance to interact and do that, right? And so my message to you, Nick, as you go about living out your purpose and being that example, don't be ashamed of it. Just own it, right? Because the good things that come from it, you will never know what that will amount to. And so with that, being an example, I think it's time for you to be a good example of a captain.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the reading of the promotion order.
Post the order.
Attention to orders. The President of the United States, acting upon the recommendation of the Secretary of the Air Force, has placed special trust and confidence in the patriotism, integrity, and abilities of First Lieutenant Joshua Young. In view of these special qualities and his demonstrated potential to serve in the higher grade, Lieutenant Young is promoted to the grade of Captain, United States Air Force, effective the 28th day of May, 2018, by order of the Secretary of the Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Mrs. Young, Addison, and Miss Nancy, would you please come forward to help pin on Captain Young's new rank?
We got you already.
We already had that discussion.
Thank you, Mrs. Young, Addison, and Miss Nancy. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as Lieutenant Colonel Roux administers the oath of office.
Raise your right hand, repeat after me. I state your name.
Joshua Nicholas Young.
Having been appointed captain in the United States Air Force.
Having been appointed captain of the United States Air Force.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office upon which I'm about to enter.
of the office upon which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Captain Joshua Nick Young. You can be seated.
First and foremost, I'll just start off by saying I'm so thankful for you all being here today. Without God, none of this would be possible for me. I did not think I'd be an emotional person. Like, I was cool all day, started talking, and no one usually does this, and I see why people skip promotion ceremonies now, because you have to get emotional about it. Again, just giving honor to God. My journey has been interesting, but it's been fun, and I wouldn't change it for the world. So I'm just gonna start so I don't miss anything, kind of just work my way down the line. Because I appreciate each and every one of you being here. I'm saying right now, if I forget to say anything out loud publicly, know that privately what you have done for me has not gone unnoticed. Just starting with my mom. Mom, thank you so much for raising me. You have been an excellent example of perseverance. My one story I'll share with my mom is that when I was, I don't know, maybe in 4th grade, signed up for a baseball team. I was a pretty good baseball player as a kid. Almost that kid who was doing too much. Other parents was like, can he not play for a little while? Because I would catch the ball from the outfield, run somebody in to tag them, and then throw the ball, bring the ball back to the catcher instead of following all the other rules to do those things. But my team was really bad. We sucked. We were really bad. And I wanted to quit. And I asked my mom if I could quit the team. She said, anything you sign up for in this house, you will never quit. So a lot of my life has been attributed to that lesson in itself, that small moment that you may have not even thought of. You may have thought it was like, oh, let me make sure you keep your grades up or anything but it was those small moments like that. All my life, I've kind of just been too stupid to quit, even when things are hard. Like, I don't know how to quit. I don't know what that is. At the academy, things got tough. In T6s, in the early phase of pilot training, things got tough. Just learn how to fly, not knowing anything about the environment. Got tough. But my instructors were always amazed because I came in with a smile every day. Like, hey, how we doing? It's like, dude, you just hooked 2 rides. Yesterday. I was like, I might hook again today. But I'm happy to be here. That's just a lesson of perseverance. And then hook for all my civilian friends means to receive an unsat on the ride, which means you didn't perform well. So I had a couple of those in the T6 phase. T1 was a breeze. Clear, I got my #1 assignment, so good. But on to my wife. Literally, as Colonel Roux stated, 18 hours after graduating from the Air Force Academy, throwing my hat in the sky, we went straight to the Justice of Peace, Colorado Springs, and got married. My mom was there to witness it. Kayla, you have been everything for me. It was just a godsend for you to be in my life. Never could have guessed from 6th grade that we would end up here today. And I kid you not, this is no fairy tale, but it's been absolutely amazing. People have said, when you get married, oh, it's gonna get tough. And I'm sure people can add testaments to that story, but it has never been that way for me and Kayla. Like, it's always been really good. She's a phenomenal wife. She was raised well by excellent parents who just set an amazing example. I kind of felt like I married into the Huxtables because the Huxtables before any allegations. Let's talk about that. Literally, every aunt and uncle, mom, dad, grandmother, great-grandparent, I can't find anyone in Kayla's family who's not married, and that's not the same as the line for my family. And just for single people in the room and just other married people, you know this, like your spouse can be to your detriment or your success. Without this woman, like I wouldn't be where I am today. It was times in pilot training when I was struggling and afraid to say I was struggling to my classmates. You know, pilots, we're confident. swag. We got it. Like, we don't need help. And you want to put that persona on so bad. But at home, if I ever needed to cry, I could call my wife. I could talk to my wife. We would go to church in Oklahoma City, hour-and-a-half drive every Sunday. So that was 3 hours back and forth. Kayla was quizzing me, boldface, ops limits, all my GK, make sure I wrote all the questions, flashcards. Sometimes she'd be like, can we just have a normal ride to church? And I was like, nope, you signed up for better or for worse. So it literally was like her. And it was funny because guys would come over to the house and study, and they'll be going through the checklist, and it has a crazy flow in the T6. Hitler knew the entire thing through and through. So she'll be helping. I'll be studying, and someone will say something wrong. She's like, did he say O-Box good? Like, she knew it so well, and she just provided that at pilot training to cook for her classmates as they came over, providing meals. Alicia's not here, she's deployed, but that has been, Andrew got to experience that. But Alicia was just an excellent friend of mine going through pilot training, and we spent a lot of close time together, and she's deployed right now. Her husband Marco couldn't be here today, but just a quick shout out to her. But her and I went through pilot training together, got a number 1 assignments together, and Kayla really helped us both to get through training, so much appreciated. Pastor Hawkins, it has been phenomenal being a part of Living the Word Church. Just having someone who is relevant, who's honest, and just truthful about the Word of God and how we should live as Christians, setting an example. You have just done that flawlessly. So I appreciate your hard work, the testament of the church members we have here today. It's a phenomenal opportunity to just sit under your leadership. Being in the military, two of the hardest things to find, a church home and a barber. And my barber's actually sitting in the back. Next to my barber, Kiera. But two of the hardest things to find when you're in the military is always finding a church home and someone to cut your hair, because your appearance is important and your spiritual growth is just everything. Because without that, I wouldn't be where I am today. So thank you for continuing to pour into me every day. My Cartwright family, this is my dad's side of the family right here. It's our first time getting to have an event where I can get this many of them in one place at one time. But just thank you all so much for being here. I've got my 2 great uncles, my great aunts in the back. I know they still live beyond there. Great aunts and uncles. And amazing individuals. And I'm just honored to be a part of your family and to know you. To just, there's a story behind that we'll get it another time. But just, man, just having you all in my corner. Anytime I want to make a phone call, you're right there. My sisters is my babies right here. Danielle and Janae. Thank you all so much. My sister just recently graduated, where I made a 5.5-hour drive there to go support her graduation. Danae came along, and then now they're doing the same thing for me and going back all in the same day. So they're up there in Dayton, Ohio. So just to have you all here, it means the world to me. To get up at 4 a.m. and to drive for me, and to still look flawless while doing it. And then, so to my god brothers, Jamar, Mel, these have been my, oh man. Whew. We moved. Love you too. I'm gonna look away, so I'll look at them. We moved when I was in 6th grade from Marksville, or 8th or 7th, going into the 8th grade, from Marksville to Alexandria. I started going to Pineville Junior High. That's when I first met these young men, and it's kind of one of those relationships to where like you can't just be friends. You know, it's like it's your brother. Mm-hmm. So literally, in calling them like my god brothers, like if anything ever happened to me, they take care of my family. So. Oh man, Quinn and Andrea could not have gotten through pilot training without you guys. So I appreciate you guys. And Andrea raised her hand about Kayla's cooking. Sometimes after a long day of work before Quinn's a practicing attorney in Atlanta, and he took a leave of absence from work and actually changed jobs to come and support his wife through pilot training. Before Quinn got there, that's how we became family. Andrea lived the next street over. She would literally just be walking, come knock on the door, hey young family, just checking in. But like she always seemed prepared to eat, and Kayla would always Kayla would always offer often, would you like to stay for dinner? Oh, I wasn't planning on it, but sure. Week after week, that started happening quite often. And yeah, the rest is history from here. Just to have them here. Andrew is a J-Stars pilot. My definition of a unicorn, black female pilot in our Air Force. First African-American female pilot in the Georgia Air National Guard. So just to have her as a friend, and they came all the way from Atlanta. She's also flight attendant for Delta. She reps Delta hard. So, but they came just to be here for this day, and that means the world to me to just have them here. Then on to my military side. Colonel Roux, sir, thank you so much. He didn't realize when he got hired for that job the lives that would be attached to his just based on seeing him. The first black officer I ever saw when I was enlisted was a chaplain at Lackland Air Force Base, Chaplain Christian Williams. That was the first black officer I ever saw. So I thought black officers were all chaplains. So I got to the prep school, they were like, what do you want to do? I was like, be a chaplain. They were like, why? I was like, well, I love God, I love people, so be a chaplain. And to see him, I'll just never forget that day. For him, it was a normal day. But to see him on the throttle that day as freshmen, we got to carry our bag in our left hand, and we're running the throttle, and I kind of just stopped. I had never seen a black man in a flight suit before. And at that point in time, I'd already served 3 years of enlisted service. So this was in 2010, so you would think like, oh, but a lot of enlisted airmen go through, there's enlisted airmen on this base now that don't even realize we have planes on the base. Because we get so caught up in the mission and the job that we're doing and being those professionals in the workplace that we miss out on the big picture sometimes. So having commanders do a good job to usher that and guide that is it's a phenomenal thing. And that's something we definitely have here in the OSS. But seeing him, I just stopped him. I said, sir, well, what do you do? He was like, I fly airplanes. And he had some shades on too. And you've ever seen Jaron walk? He kind of got this he got this bounce, this cool walk. He's also a basketball player, so that cool, lazy walk that basketball players have, he's got it down pat. It's like, I fly airplanes. I was like, what else? He was like, that's it. He was like, man, you seem like a cool dude, man. And I kept in touch with him, and I met other African-American pilots, and I started meeting white pilots, and even though I worked in TMO at Moody Air Force Base as an airman, pilots would always come in. We used to do 5Ks around the flight line. The A-10 and the AC-130 is out there. I never realized that as an airman, and I was running around the flight line. I saw him, and then it just opened my eyes up to see pilot. I was like, what is this operational world? And it blew my mind. And then, of course, I was convinced to give it a shot. But the first day when I found out, I already knew I got rated pretty high as a cadet at the academy with the leadership positions I had taken on and some of the hard work I put in. When it was time to put our list in for preferences, I put pilot down because I was like, I want to do this, but I was afraid because of failure. I did not want to fail. I called Saj Elamine, who commissioned me in, and Jaron commissioned him. So it's a lineage here that's linking. I called Saj, went to a quiet room, started bawling. Couldn't talk. I said, I don't want this job. He said, I know what you're going through. I've been there. Just him saying that right there, I was like, I can do that. I could do it. So I knew I was getting the job because I was rated like in the top of my class. But I was like, God, I tried to take my Jesus moment. Like, if this cup can pass, let it pass for me. And he was like, no, you're definitely getting this job. Because I was afraid to fail because I knew I was going to be challenged. And a lot of cadets at the academy run from it. Oh, I don't want to do that. 10-year commitment. It's hard. I don't want to do that. Or they see one person who fails out. And then they think because someone who looked like them didn't make it that they can't make it. But just that phone call to call him and say, I don't know if I can do this. And he said, I've been there, I already know what you're going through, you'll be fine. Yeah, I hit some bumps early on, but once you find that stride and you get in it, it's a good place to be in. And having these two to mentor me along the way, and it was just amazing for them to both be here. That was an amazing opportunity. So thank you both. Colonel T, thank you so much for hiring me on as your exec. One of the statements she made jokingly one time, but this has been a proven testament. She said, here at the OSS, we take pilots and turn them into real officers. She is not lying. Because I have learned things about like VPC and then having the opportunity to work with some phenomenal personnelists in the CSS office and learn about being an exec and just small moments of being a witness the greatness that this lady is just laying down by being herself day in. It's never extra, it's never too little, it's always the perfect amount. And ma'am, you have been a phenomenal example for me that I will forever try to follow and emulate. So thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Quick story I'll share on that. She let me sit in her office the other day. She called some people in, had the Master Sergeant release. Coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. Out of being in the Air Force, flying planes, best thing I've ever seen. She called one of our tech sergeants who just recently got promoted to Master Sergeant, put him on speakerphone, and just to hear his reaction and told him that he made rank. She knew how hard he had been working to get there. He's a phenomenal person within our squadron, and we were all there to just yell, "Congratulations!" I didn't care about saying it. I was in awe of just watching that moment. You turned tides for my life in that day, ma'am. So thank you so much for just including me and pushing me, and I promise I'm gonna keep getting better. Being an exec is a tough job sometimes. It's just trying to figure out what your boss wants, but I would rather be working for anyone else. So thank you so much. Colonel Shaw, ma'am, you and your husband, just your presence at church day in and day out. Thank you so much. When I first met Colonel Shaw, I had no idea she was in the military at all. Most officers will do this to you. "Hi, I'm Kathy." "Hey, Kathy, how's it going?" Her husband's name is James. Never saw them. Then I saw them. I was like, "Oh, Lieutenant Colonel." And then I saw an email when inspections were going on. "Oh, Squadron Commander." It's things like that that make the difference for people. You being a person before being an officer, a squadron commander, anything else. Thank you so much for just and welcome me in with like just open arms into like the family and the church family. So because they were already at the church before us, so it's phenomenal to just be a part of that. Chief Duvall, this is my guy since he was a tech sergeant. Like I was a BCT, basic cadet training superintendent, and he was over training for us. So is that correct? What was your title, BCT? So he was a superintendent, so he ran all the training. So I was kind of like trying to be his mini-me. And I never looked as good as him, but I was trying to follow his example.
You never shaved a head, bro.
But just watching this man stay the same and push his people and having reasoning throughout of like every situation, absolutely phenomenal. So I appreciate you, sir. I appreciate your leadership. I already gave my plug massage, and just now, as I look around the room, thank you all for being here. Rufus, see you back, and you got Mrs. Lowe with you. Phenomenal job with the national anthem. I've heard Rufus sing before, but I never heard him sing the national anthem, and now I never think I can sing the national anthem again. Sometimes I try my hand at that, but you've ruined all my opportunities. But thank you so much for being here. He's a defender, our security forces personnel. Some of the hardest working people on this base that day in and day out get us in safely and take care of this base. So what you do is much appreciated. So thank you so much. For everybody else around the room, we've made eye contact multiple times. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me to have you here and celebrate this day. I couldn't be here without any of you, and just to see the amount of people that's here, it blows my mind. It's emotional because sometimes you don't know when you're running and you got your head down. You don't take time to look up, but to take this moment of celebration for my family and to look across the crowd and see all your faces, I am truly in awe. I'm floored for the opportunity to speak before you all today and to promote. So thank you all so much. I don't have any further comments, but just thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the ceremony. Please stand for the singing of the Air Force song and the departure of our official party. Immediately following the ceremony, Captain Young's wife and his family invite you to join them in the back of the room for refreshments. Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, zooming to meet our thunder. Atom boys, give her the gun, give her the gun. Down we dive, spouting our flames from under. Off with one hell of a roar. We live in fame.
Nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force.
That's cool.